All right. We will start with a very simple one that a lot of people here should probably know. If I should take that back, probably the wrong word here. But if you've been around Japanese content for a while, you've probably seen this one before. This is he, which by itself is just day, but has a lot of conjunctions. For instance, Nihon. This is Japan. But sometimes the vowel can change depending on what it's paired with. This is kakan, which is for how many days. Yes. I know a lot of people do like the Duolingo Japanese streams, but I don't see a lot of people like do handwriting practice and stuff, which is a good way to help you remember all of these things. There's a lot that you have to memorize, especially if you want to like take the language proficiency tests. All right, next one here. This is a person, and this has a lot of pairings. So if you've ever heard of like gaijin or foreigner, that's what this looks like right here. Foreigner, gaijin. Now, this is actually the abbreviated version. The full version is actually gaikokujin. This full thing here. Or if you just want to say Japanese person, or even white person. All of these fun little combinations, and these are just a tiny bit of them. Another very common one, year. So you hear this one with a lot of things as well. And this one is normally just spelled out Toshi or Nen. So if you were a grade schooler and you wanted to talk about how many years you've been in school, Nensei is another way of doing that, or rather, a way of doing that. Nen say, which is how many years you've been in school. Or if you want to talk about a New Year's gift, which is Toshidama. Boom, New Year's gift. And of course, you can pair it with other time elements as well. Like if you wanted to talk about last year, Kyonen. Boom. Sometimes you hear people talking about big things. And the kanji for the big things this one. So it's a lot like the person, but you have the extra dash here for the stroke. And it actually has a second form that's used for other things sometimes, which is, do that. Like that. Though this is used for line specific things. Normally you use this big one here. And this has a few funny pairings as well. So like if you want to talk about an adult, it's big person. Otona. If you want to say something is big, it's oki. My key is very scuffed, but that's okay. If you want to say a lot of people, that's oze. The next one that you saw as part of Japan is hon, which is normally used for book. Though surprisingly, it's not actually a counter for a book. If you want to count books, you actually have to use satsu, which is that. But outside of Japan, you could use it for different things like, let's see, bookshelf, which is hondona, I believe. Let's see what are a couple of the other ones I can remember off the top of my head. Yes, bookstore, honya. Honya, bookstore. Next one here, chu or naka. So by itself, it's naka. And this means in the middle of, or inside, or in between. So if you want to talk about something being in between something, you just do chu. If you want to talk about like the center of a town area, you could use chuo, which is like that. If you want to talk about like in the middle heart spirit type of thing, there's chushin, which is like that. And there's technically an adult one I could talk about as well, but I think I will leave the adult one out for now. Yes, a lot of the characters are pretty flexible. It's pretty awesome. So another one here. This one is commonly pronounced either da or de, depending on its usage. So two very easy ones. Daru, to take out or to show. Or like deguchi, which is exit. And then there's also verbs like dekiru, which is to go out. But basically, this one is for kanjis that involve going out or leaving or exiting or taking something out, typically. Another common one here. miru, to see. This is when you're watching something, looking at something, that kind of thing. And it has a very simple extension for to be discovered here. Miseru, to be discovered. And you can use this for just like watching, seeing, that kind of stuff. You can use it as a command. Mite, mite. That's true, Dizzy. It does look like that, doesn't it? Get me out of here. I must leave. I must get out. Okay. Another date-based one here. Getsu, which is month. So this one's a little funny because when we're talking about dates, most of them, if you want to say for X number of time unit, like days, weeks, etc., most of them use that X and then the con thing, so kakan or whatever. But for some reason, week is a little different. Instead, it gets the katakana ke and then the getsu. Not sure why that one is different from the rest. It's a little weird. That's how it is. If you wanted to say something like every week you're doing something, you would say something like maigetsu. Like this, maigetsu. Though my is a little scuffed here. See if I can draw that a little cleaner. It's a little better. Slightly better. Let's see. Next. So this one's normally pronounced sei, S-E-I, and it's used in a few different cases. So I'm sure you've heard of sensei. This is sensei. If you want to say student or pupil. Saito. Or if you wanted to say school student, gaku sei. So that's school student. So lots of little different combinations for this one. And it can also be used in a couple of verbs like it's umareru, which is to be born. Another basic one here. Ue, up. So this one can be used in a few different ways. Let's see here. If I can remember off the top of my head. So outside of it just being the common thing, like if you wanted to say high altitude sky, for instance, that'd be Joku. And then you can also use it somehow to say like somebody is skilled in something. What's the reading for this off the top of my head? Actually, don't remember the reading. That's bad. I'll have to go back and remember the reading. But this is how you would say somebody is skilled at something. The opposite of that is actually a hita. Which is unskilled. Actually, the funny way is I remember this one from DBZ Abridged. We have Mr. Satan in that show, who is a joke, but he is sponsored by Heatap. So for some reason, I just associate the Hita with Heatap, and that's how I remember Hita is unskillful. It's kind of funny. Oh, I know, I could do the directions next. North, south, east, and west. This is north, Kita. South, Minami. East is Higashi, which is and then west is Nishi. Just like that. This is a little scuffed. Let's see if I can do it cleaner. That's slightly cleaner. Not the best, but Kita, Minami, Higashi, Nishi. Oh, Boomba, hi. Thank you for coming. I hope you're doing pretty good. We're just going over some kanji. I don't know if you ever studied Japanese at all, Boomba. I don't know if you ever played like the Rune Factory games before they were translated or anything. Okay. How about we talk about money? Money is always a good one. Oh, there we go. So this is by itself as kane, which is gold, and a lot of people use that for like ancient type currencies. In a more modern setting, you would say something like kinsu, which is still the first kanji, but then you'd add this to it. And then if you wanted to say bank, it's ginko, which is a little bit more complicated. Ginko is like ginko. So this one here we'll probably talk about later, but this is to go, and it's used in a lot of different ones as well. So yeah, you got gold, money, bank. Oh, so you took it while you were in school. Okay, that makes sense. Was that college or was that high school? This next one is a little bit of a fun one here. So this one here is for entering or going into. The simple version is a verb here, hairu, which is simply to enter or go into. But it's also used to insert something. So ri. Why am I sleeping on ri all of a sudden? Hold on. Oh, there it is. Okay, I don't know why my brain slipped on that one. I'm going to name pressures of streaming, honestly. But anyway, iriru. So this is to insert. And the reason why this one is actually kind of important is if you ever talk about wanting to make coffee or tea in Japanese, you don't make coffee or tea, you insert coffee or tea. It's really weird. I don't know if anybody else feels that way, but okay. Let's see what would be a good next one. Key would probably be good. So this one is a pretty common one. So the main purpose you see in day-to-day living is genki, which of course everybody knows is like health and type health type stuffs. Like when you ask "O genki desu ka?" How are you? Or if you say "O genki de," take care of yourself. So you got that key there. It can also be used in context of something like electricity. So if we go for the electricity one, then key. That's electricity. So you can kind of think of it as energy, if you will. And so, like, this is basically like health or bodily energy. This is electrical energy. It's one of the easiest ways to remember what that one is representing. Hi, zombie sexual. Your name still makes me laugh. Okay, let's see next. I know. I know a good one here. So by itself, this is na, and it's got a simple conjunction here. Namai. What's your name? Namai. Namai. But it can also mean expert. Meijin. Or you can even go further and say memoku. Something that's nominal. That one is a little more confusing for outside Japanese speakers, but if you take a Japanese course, you'll get that one. Oh, one more. So you actually won't normally see this kanji too often. Too small. But this is Yume, which is famous. The reason why you won't see this one too often is this is actually an antiquated kanji for aru. So nowadays, that's just it's just written as literally just aru. It doesn't have this kanji anymore. So it's only used when you have these certain compounds now. And aru is to be or to exist for animate objects here. All right. It's about water next, or rather, water and rivers. So water by itself is mizu, which is this. Then if you want to talk about rain, you have ame. And then if you want to talk about like a river, you have kawa. redo that one a little cleaner here. There we go. Kawa. And these have some funny combinations. So if you want to talk about athlete's foot, for instance, it's water bug. So Mizu Mushi. Athlete's foot, water bug. If you want to talk about heavy rain, Uame. Or if you want to talk about like say, like the rice paddy fields that they used back in the old days, that's actually called Sweden, but it still uses the kanji for Mizu here. And then this one here for basically rice paddy field type deal. So water rice paddy field. And this one here is actually used for talking about like out in the boonies and stuff as well. So if you wanted to say like you're going to visit the boonies, it'd be Inaka, which is that plus the one for building, which is this one. So Inaka, you're going out to the boonies. Yes, athlete's foot. That fun stuff you get on your foot if you go into showers without proper shower shoes. Okay, let's see here. I'm trying to think of some other non-complicated ones here. You do to run. So this one looks a little funky at first glance. So this is Aru for Aruku. So this whole little giant blob here is for to run, basically. Or to go for a walk. Sorry, Hashiru is to run, to walk. And you could also say sampo suru, but that doesn't use this kanji. It has to do with whether you are being transitive or intransitive. Which in English you can think of transitive and intransitive as does the thing have a direct object or not? Are you acting on it? In Japanese, they typically have separate verbs. So, for instance, if something is rising up in the air on its own versus is it climbing up under its own power, that kind of stuff. Let's see, do Gucci next. So we talked about this one with exit, which was the Gucci. And you also have entrance, which is Iraguchi. You have Oguchi, which is big mouth. You have Teguchi, which is either big company or encompassing the entire arms. So that one's context based. And then you also have this one that makes even less sense, Jinko, which is like popular feeling. So I guess you can say it's people talking about what is popular at the time or whatnot, and it's coming out of their mouths, and it's a lot of people or something. This one doesn't make a lot of sense to me in context, but it is what it is. And with that, we can actually talk about hands or feet. So this is the one for hands. Let me redraw that. And then the one for feet, so this is te. And then ashi is this one. And then if you want to talk about like left hand or right hand, left is going to be hidari, which is this. Or right is going to be migi, which is this one. Hidari migi. So you just pair this. If you want to say left hand, you just say scuff drawing. Hidari te. Or right foot. Migiasi. And then a sciencey one here. Ka. So this one is ka, which is basically like change in. It's kind of more of an abstract kanji, but it's used in different science ones. So for instance, kaseki, which is fossil, which looks like this, kaseki. If you want to talk about like change in text over time, you would have bunka. And then it's also used as an element in some other kanji. So if you've ever heard of cherry blossoms or hana, looks like this. So it has this underneath it. And they can actually become combined to with like fire, for instance. Hanabi, which is firework, kind of like a sky flower, if you will, a sky explosion. Also, someone is saying chat might be frozen. If it is, you can try refreshing. Let me say something here in chat. Oh, the screen chat might be frozen. Okay, I see. I see what's happening. The little disclaimer thing at the top kind of poofed. So let me just adjust that real quick here. There we go. Okay. Chat was not frozen. Chat was just bounced up. I will eventually set up my own chat thing, which does not have that. So practice streams are practice streams for a reason. And let's see, we could do a couple of colors real quick. So this one is how or blue. And this one is aka, which is red. Funny enough, this one is also used for infant, probably because they are very red when they come out. So aka-chan. Baby. And then ears, Mimi. Everybody's heard of ears, right? Mimi. Ears and eyeballs. Mimi me. And you can actually combine them to Jimoku, which means one's attention. So you want both their eyes and ears, you want their attention. So you combine them into Jimoku. Yeah, aka does mean yeah. The context is important. Yeah, a lot of kanjis are very context dependent. It's actually it's a lot easier when you have the kanji because the kanji does give you a lot of the context. It's actually a lot worse when you're listening because then you have to be like, what do they mean? I don't have the pictogram because you have a lot of kanjis that sound exactly the same but have different meanings, and you can normally figure out their meanings by reading them. But when you're listening, you can't see it. So let's see. I think a good final one. Okay. Or G. So hours. This is G, which is hour, but it's also time slash watches. So okay, watch your time, and you can use that as your JoJo reference here. Toke wo tamare. Time has begun to move again. Fun little reference there. Don't think they gave all of the time ones. Hold on. So we have minute, which is fun or boon, and G, which is hour. And then of course he is day, Getsu is week, Shu. Oh, let me draw that. Shu is week. Day, week, month, year. So minute, hour, day, week, month, year. Yeah, okay. And there is one for seconds, though I don't remember what seconds is because I don't normally use seconds in that context. And you can actually go slightly further to this one here because weekend, then weekend. Weekend is Shu Matsu. Weekend, yeah. So that's one way you can do it, zombie. Depending on the complication of the kanji. So some of them do have like elements that come together to make up the sum of their whole, basically. And a lot of the older ones are definitely like that. So, for instance, let me put here tree. So, tree by itself is just key. And then if you wanted to say like a bunch of trees, you have two trees next to each other. And if you want to say forest, which is mori, you actually have three together like this. And this one is also used for like say other things like bamboo thicket, chikurin. Bamboo thicket. And then if you want to say like forestry, like the studying, which is Shinrin Gaku. Shinrin Gaku. So you can see like these ones built on top of each other, so you can kind of figure out well, if this is just a single tree, you know, it gets more and more complicated. But as time went on, you needed more and more kanji. It wasn't always as easy to just take the sub forms and just throw them together. And so some kanjis you can figure out, and then some kanjis you just kind of have to memorize. All right, I think that is a good stopping point for this practice stream. I'm going to thank all of you who joined, and if possible, if you could subscribe only because I can't actually pick out a proper channel URL until I get 100 subscribers because YouTube is dumb. So right now my channel name is literally like a bunch of gibberish. So if you could do that, that would be a big help for me. But otherwise, thank you everybody for coming to my practice stream.